he like made a commitment to himself. He was never telling anyone. And this new video that I sent you, we're going to interview, his name is Dan Sykes. Same thing. He's like, I am never. And so there's a word for that. It's called a life commandment. Yeah. So you're early on, you make this life commandment, and it's so ingrained with you that when it does come time or an opportunity to share, you can't, because you've convinced yourself in a way that you will disappear, dissolve, die if you do share. And that is the beauty of other people, because suddenly you're like, oh, I don't have to carry this backpack all by myself. I thought I was the only one. Hi, I'm Lori.
And I'm Kevin, and this is No Longer Ashamed.
We are survivors of childhood sexual abuse.
And we're here to share with you that if you're a survivor, you don't have to be alone.
Our logo is a salamander, and the reason is a fire salamander can survive a fire, and you have survived a fire.
We want to help you with your journey to healing and hope.
We are all survivors together, and we walk this journey together, and you are not alone.
By telling our stories, we are hoping that you will have the courage to share your story as well and find your voice.
Because stories are so important, and for so long I know that I wouldn't tell my story, but when I finally shared my story, that's when I got my freedom.
And this is our journey and your journey to healing and hope. So come with us. Well, what I was thinking about was how community has been so important now that we've been doing our podcast, and how I've realized that one of the big issues about talking about being a survivor is finding out who else is a survivor and being in community with them and talking to them about it. And what struck me was it really made me feel like I wasn't alone, but I wasn't so different, or I wasn't, an other, which I felt most of my life was like I was an other. I was different than everyone else. But now that we've been doing the podcast and we've met a lot of people that are survivors, and we talk to them and we keep in touch with them, now all of a sudden I don't feel like such an outcast, is how I would put it. And even people that aren't real open about, but they've been open with me, when I see them, I feel, it's like this sense of community to know other survivors and to know that they're not that different from me, and also they're not that different from everyone else. So that's been a real comfort to just have that community, and how important that's been since we've been doing this. And I think also the timing when we went through COVID, it's sort of like a lot of people didn't want to come out. They didn't want to connect. We kind of got used to being home. And so I think, and I'm hearing this in all the different fields, in recovery, in business, how important community is. And when we find like-minded people that have, walked through or are walking through what we've gone through, it makes us, like you say, more than not feel alone, but not feel so different. Yeah, because all my life I felt different, and all my life I've kept it a secret, most of my life, I should say. And it's because I felt different. I felt like people would know why there was something wrong with me. And now I don't feel that way, and it's made it a lot easier. I mean, even last night we were at a restaurant, and of course Charnel gets to talking to our server because she talks to everyone. I mean, that's what I love about her. She is so open with everyone, and we're just talking about stuff, and she found out that our server also was a parapro. She works in schools, and one thing led to another, and we were talking about abuse at schools and so forth, and found out that she was also in that community of being a survivor of abuse, and also reaching out to kids who are survivors and so forth. And, of course, Charnel brings up that I'm doing this podcast, and I didn't feel awkward or uncomfortable about it at first. When I started doing the podcast, it was hard to talk about, but now it's so much easier because I realize there's a community of us that are survivors, and it's really comforting to reach out to other survivors and know that we're all very different, but we're all part of this community. And I think it's so important. Yeah, and like you said, Charnel brings it up, and then
or she starts a conversation and then it comes up and then she shares more. And I think that it's that willingness, because we've been on both sides when we've been in places where maybe we've said something and people are like, oh my gosh, me too. And then we've been the one to say, yeah, me too. Like being on either side of that, it's kind of like you don't wish this on anyone, but if somebody's been through it too, it's not like you wish that would happen to anybody, so you would have that in common. But when you find people that have gone through it, there is that feeling of we can help each other. I might be more willing to call someone who's been through what I've been through, even if it's a problem I'm having that's not related to that, but something's causing me stress. There might be more likely to go, yeah, and remember what time of year did that thing happen? Or, like we're gonna know more on how to just be a good listener.
Yeah, and we can relate to each other better. And also just knowing that people are out there that have been through it, but they've been through it. They're getting beyond it. They're surviving it. And it relates a lot to when we last talked about mentoring and how survivors don't have good mentors to look to in media and so forth, because media just portrays the really poor aspects of being a survivor. You're either a real victim or you're a perpetrator, but there's no in between. Knowing other survivors gives you a sense of, you're belonging to a group of people that are getting through life and dealing with it, and they're thriving. They're able to have a good life, a good career, family, and so forth. And so it's just, I think for me, it was just knowing that community is so important, and we wouldn't have this community if we didn't actually talk about this.
When I told you I was at a comedy club the other night, and I was at a table of widows. And they're all in the Modern Widows Club, which meets once a month. And every one of them at one time or another said, first of all, they said, we need to laugh. And that's why they come to the comedy nights. But also, they all said, I don't know what I'd do without this group of women. Like we sometimes we have outings because we've been doing this for years, but mostly we see each other once a month because it's a local, it's a group that they meet in person now, and they're all over the country. But it's not like they're always hanging out, but they know that they're there for each other, and what a huge difference that makes.
Yeah, I think that is a thing that we can do as survivors. We can be a part of that community and form those bonds with others who are survivors and be there for each other, and also have someone you could talk to that knows what you've been through, that understands what you've been through. I think that's what made it so important for me, is they get it. They understand. That's why I wanted to do this with you, is you get it. You understand. You know what it's been like. And even though Charnel's so understanding and so supportive, it's still different. But to know someone that's been through and had to go through counseling, all that, go through all the stuff to get to a place of healing, it's just really important to know someone like that gets it. When I talked about the first few episodes we did, and I was like, this was my first memory, and that was so traumatic for me to realize, and just having someone to understand what it's like was so important. And I think that's what would be really helpful to do as survivors, is to form that community.
That's why AA is so successful. They built a community around people that understood, because families didn't understand. They just thought you could just stop drinking. They didn't understand. And, there are groups, and maybe in your area, for healing, and for, like, I know Celebrate Recovery has a group in their model for people recovering from childhood sexual abuse. And so there are some groups out there, but also, why not find out about starting one locally in your church or in your neighborhood or somewhere where, and it is a big commitment, because it'd be once a week or once a month. I don't know. But it's like, when we think about what can I do, like, we're doing the podcast, but somebody else might be like, well, I already am at the church, every Wednesday Wednesday night, whatever, why not have a Sunday school room for people that are struggling, you know?
Yeah, yeah, people who, and I think that would be a great thing to just start. I mean, like recovery, have a just a group that's for survivors to meet with other survivors and to support each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that way they would know that there's others like them, others that are going through it, others that get it, and also to see others that have been through it and are doing well, and knowing that you don't have to feel like an other, you don't have to feel like an outcast. Because I always hid it because I just didn't want anyone to know because they would think there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that comes with self-love and with talking to others where we accept it more and actually even embrace it, because it doesn't define us, but it has made us who we are because of the recovery process that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like in a way it becomes a superpower because we have more compassion. And honestly, I think anybody who has been through this, if they want to go to someone, they want to go to someone who's been there, done that. They want a counselor who understands childhood trauma. They don't want to go to a marriage counselor for childhood abuse. And so that's the beauty of sharing your story, because when you do and you get comfortable with it, you really are more helpful. You're more helpful, you're more understanding. And sometimes just a nod or a look of, I get it, will make all the difference.
Yeah, and also, like we've talked there's a lot of new treatments, there's a lot of new ways of dealing with trauma, and I haven't tried many of them, but I think it's really helpful to hear from others what has helped them, from other survivors, what they've done that's really been useful, and that's something that can help you as far as, well, this might be even, something I should try, because I think that that would be the thing that would help me right now. Or you can hear from other survivors what they've tried and it didn't work out necessarily, and for what reasons, and so you can kind of work through what's good and what doesn't work.
Of all the things that we've been hearing, what intrigues you the most if you were to say, I think I'm going to get some therapy? What would be the one you would want to try?
See, I've thought about what do you call
Rapid
that?
eye movement.
Yeah, because I've still been blindsided by triggers once in a while. And I also know I have repressed memories. And I'm wondering if just that would help with my repressed memories. But there's also times I don't know if I want to go there. So
Well, that was my next question. Like, what's keeping you from it? And also, I maybe that is the one question. It's like sometimes it's like status quo is okay. Can we just keep it here? But what does it take to decide, okay, I'm ready for more therapy, right? You already made the decision you needed therapy.
yeah.
So what would be the thing that would make somebody or you want more therapy? Like for me, I want it. I just can't afford it. I haven't been able to figure out on Medicare how to afford it.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly finding the time and setting aside the time. And I also know it can be difficult, and it can also make me difficult to be around. I know there were times when I was going through therapy that going through this stuff was really hard on me, and I was really hard to be in a relationship with because it wasn't easy, and I would either just want to not be social, not be around anyone. I'd want to be really introverted, really shut down, or I wouldn't be very pleasant to be around. I know that's happened before. And so I don't want to take it out on Charnel.
So can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
That was your first time through, right? You're different now.
Yeah.
And you are more sensitive to that. Do you think that would be the same story, or is that a story that's keeping you from going? Like, I'm not saying, oh, Kevin, you need therapy, but I'm saying we do. We get to these places where we're like, is it worth it to re-unlock those doors? But then I look at when we do the work, yeah, it's hard, but isn't the outcome, isn't the what we get from it, the closeness in our relationships after it? I was just talking to a lady this week, and she said, when I finally let go and I finally surrendered it all and got the help, she said, my relationship with my husband, and this wasn't about sexual abuse for her, but it was child childhood trauma. Her mom had died and she became a got it girl. She became in control of everything. But when she got the help, got the counseling and the coaching and let go, she said it changed everything. She would not marry her boyfriend because she didn't want to give him any control. And after she went through this process, they got married, and she said their relationship is better than it's ever been because she went through the counseling.
Yeah.
And it was hard. She said it was hard.
Yeah.
But it was so worth it. She said, I wouldn't trade what I have today for that. For her, it was a year. It was a hard year. Her dad was dying of had dementia and was dying at the same time. She was going through all this. But so I wonder, because we always say, get counseling, take care of yourself. And then, it's really easy. Even when we look at diets, I need to drink less or I need to eat less sugar. We want to do it. We think it'd be good for us, but we find all these reasons not to.
Yeah.
And, and I think especially the first time through it's probably going to be harder. I think the second time through there'll be unexpected things, but we also have more control over, we've learned how to manage our emotions. We've learned how to not take it out on our spouses or our children. So, we have evolved to a place where we might even get a more enhanced experience.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense. I didn't think of it that way. I always did look at just what I went through and how difficult it was. And I didn't want to put Charnel through that. But in reality, you're right. That was many years ago. And I've evolved quite a bit since then, as far as, and even just doing the podcast has changed me in a lot of ways. And that makes a lot more sense because I think I could handle it a lot better now.
I don't think you can. I know you can.
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
Because I've watched you.
Go through.
I've watched you. I've watched you go from taking a month to deal with something to taking a day. Like recognizing it and looking at it. And it's not necessarily like a cure, but it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Your process is speeded up a lot.
Yeah, so I think that's a big deal for me to realize. And right now, this is why I think community is so important, because being able to have someone know what you're going through and also having gone through it really gives you perspective, an objective perspective, that is really helpful. And we don't necessarily get that from someone who isn't a survivor, because they can be helpful, but we might not take their advice or their opinion or their, it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same impact.
And they can reflect back to us what they see, how they see. But there was something else you said that I think is really important. You said, I don't want to put Charnel through that. And I'm not married, and I haven't been married for over 20 years, so I'm not in a relationship. But I've walked through a really tough year with my sister. And what I've really learned is I don't get to decide for her. Like, I don't say, I'm not going to do this because it might make my sister sad. I say, this is something I want to do. I'm going to ask her and give her the choice.
Yeah.
Because when we take it on, then what we're doing is we're taking that abuse back, because we're saying we're monsters and we're going to ruin someone else's life. And then we're making that decision where that person might be going, oh, I'd give anything to walk through that with them so I understand more. Like, and I think as survivors, we do this because we're always trying to protect others. And so for me, it's been eye-opening because I have to keep going, oh, I don't get to decide that. Like when my brother-in-law was passing away, I had to call my kids. And one of my daughter was in California at Disneyland. Do I call her? She can't come home. Do I tell her so that she's sad the rest of her trip? Do I wait? It's really easy for us to want to make the decisions for the people close to us because we think we know better. And, I'm being vulnerable I really had to go, oh my gosh, that's not my decision. It's not I don't get to decide that for other people. And I don't like that very well.
That's true, but I think it would be worth trying out some other treatments. We were so limited when I was first going into therapy and addressing the issues. It was so limited because there was very little knowledge about trauma as far as being a survivor of abuse.
In fact, when I was looking for a counselor, I wanted somebody that was trained in EMDR because that's one I've heard well. But there's an app you can use on your phone. And did you know swimming? When you're swimming and you're crossing over, it's the same. You can't see me, but I'm doing this. It's now called freestyle. It used to be called the breaststroke or the crawl. It used to be called the crawl. So when you're crossing over, because that's the EMDR, it's tracking your eyes. It's making your eyes go back and forth. And so when you swim and if you watch your arms, your eyes are crossing over. And that's sometimes like I swim and it's very relaxing. And I'm like, shouldn't I be working harder? But it's a distraction for your brain. And that's what EMDR is in the different ways that they do it. And so that's one that when I am looking for a counselor, I look for somebody that has that. But I do love that there are so many options now because we all learn very differently. And some people learn by reading, some people learn by talking, some people, and I think that just for me, being open, I think our generation, sometimes these new things come in and we're like, what is that? Is that woo-woo? But being open, but also aware and having someone we check in with. Like people will go to counseling and they don't like it, but it's because they're not comfortable. It's not necessarily they have a bad counselor, but the second time could be really uncomfortable, and give it a chance. But then also that line, trust your instinct. If you're going 5 or 6 times and you're not feeling safe, you got to trust that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean stop. It means find a new one or find a different path.
Well, and that's another important part of having community is to be able to talk about with someone, how it's going, if you're feeling comfortable, if it is working for you, or if you're feeling like it's not helping.
In your original counselor, that's how you found the group. And a lot of times counselors will have groups of their clients. And so that's a good way to find a group where you feel safe, because if you find a counselor you like and then they're leading the group, then that's going to help you feel safe as well.
Yeah.
Plus, a good leader in a group makes a difference, because if a lot of people are just getting together and nobody's taking the lead, there's always going to be that one person that kind of takes over. And to feel safe, we want a good leader that's going to be able to facilitate people and make sure we have good rules so people don't try to fix each other.
Yeah.
Things like that, which we see in AA. AA has great rules and about being anonymous. If you're sharing these deep, dark secrets, you see someone in the grocery store, you're like, God, I hope they're not telling their family right now, this stuff about me. So, you want it to be safe. But counseling is a great way to find a group, because I know a lot of people that are in counseling for different things, maybe weight loss, and then they are also in the group the counselor has. So they have their one-on-one session, and then they meet with more people going through what they're going through.
Yeah, yeah. And it all starts with just being able to share what you've been through with someone, either a counselor and then, But I think I was just feeling really comforted about just having friends, people I know in my life that are also survivors, and knowing that they know I'm a survivor and I can share stuff with them and share what's been going on, and also they can share with me. And it just really was a different feeling. And I recognized that really mattered, that just having that community, even a few people I can talk to about it, and not feel different, not feel like there is something wrong with me. And that all starts by finding someone to share it with, of course, and then being willing to talk about it.
And I love it. The people that have come on the show, that I feel like almost everyone, after they've shared, if they've been able to share it with friends and family or their community, they feel better. They feel stronger. They feel like, wow, I think I can use this to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, even Beth, she
Hmm.
talked about how she shared it with lots of people because she wanted them to know, and she wanted them to also she wanted to make it easy for them to know without her having to bring it up somehow. She just
Hmm.
wanted them to know her background without having to bring it up somehow, but just so they knew that she'd been through this, but this is how she's been dealing with it and so forth. And so it wasn't awkward or weird or uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And so it
Yeah.
made a big difference for her just to be able to have this podcast episode that she can share with her friends and say, hey, this is what I went through, but we don't have to talk about, but I'd like you to know about this.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah. I feel like it's like I don't know. Remember the old days of cassette? It's like here's my story. I'm not going to tell you. You listen, and then if you have questions, you come to me. It gives
mhm,
you kind of a platform. And I think sometimes people are really afraid because they don't know what they're going to say. I love how Beth was like she had notes. She was ready. But once she realized how comfortable this is and how safe it is, she was just really able to kind of let go of her agenda and just share. But, it feels like a big responsibility. And really,
mhm,
it's just being vulnerable and honest. And there's so many things. It's like, tell somebody, but also tell somebody safe. And it's like, maybe go to your church, but maybe not, because churches might not be so. Not every
mhm,
church pastor is trained in this. And there is an organization, and it's a new movement called Companioning, and it's for grief and trauma. So when a family has lost a member suddenly or suicide, these people come in, they sit with you, they talk to you, but then they teach people how to come in and be beside people in trauma.
mm,
And I really want to have him on the podcast
yeah,
because I think, it's like when other people know, and we talked about this, how some people still don't believe this kind of thing happens.
yeah,
And I think about that a lot. Sometimes I think, what if I do say something in a place where somebody says, oh, I'm so
mhm,
sure. And
mhm,
like that has never happened to me. But I still worry about that sometimes. But I think also I've evolved enough to have a sense about who I'm talking, read the
yeah,
room, who's your audience.
yeah.
If you're at a play date with a bunch of kids, you're not going to talk about this.
No, I guess what mattered to me so much was just the change in myself, knowing that there's others out there, other people out there that know what I've been through, but they understand it.
Yeah.
And
And I think that a lot of times, don't you think we've seen this? People think they are the only one.
mhm,
And Nathan's story stands out to me so much because he like made a commitment to himself. He was never telling anyone. And this new video that I sent you, we're going to interview. His name is Dan Sykes. Same thing. He's like, I
mhm,
am never. And so there's a word for that. It's called a life commandment.
yeah,
So you're early on, you make this life commandment, and
mhm,
it's so ingrained with you that when it does come time or an opportunity to share, you can't because you've convinced yourself in a way that you will disappear, dissolve, die if you do share. And
yeah,
that is the beauty of other people, because suddenly you're like, oh, I don't have to carry this backpack all by myself. I thought I was the only one.
or no one would understand, or
Mhm.
no one would believe me.
Yeah, that was mine. No one will believe me.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think that's a true story for a lot of people who tried to tell. And that's why we have this
mhm,
terrible statistic. It takes up to like 26 years for people
mhm,
to share because they weren't believed. Maybe they tried and
yeah,
but I think we're in a better generation now. I think younger people are more willing to talk about it and are
yeah.
received a little better. Us older folks still kind of are in that old life commandment. No one's going to believe you. This
Uh,
doesn't really happen.
I mean, look at Johnny. He's very
Yeah.
young, and look at the boys in that high school over in
Yeah.
Sumner. They
Yep.
came out on camera on TV, and yeah, so it is changing.
Hmm.
It is changing for the better.
Hmm.
But I really feel like we might. I think it'd be great to do a panel about this with the other people we've had on. how it's changed for them to have a community of other survivors that they can talk about this with, and they can share things with, and they can help each other, and what that has meant for them, because I know it's meant so much for me since we've been doing this.
If that's your story, if you're in a community that has made a difference, we reach out on our Facebook page, No Longer Ashamed, and let us know, and maybe come on our panel, and we'll plan it for, a few weeks out, because I think that is, I mean, wasn't that wonderful when, even though we only had 2 people on the last panel, that was just the 4 of us being able to talk was so awesome. And so, let's do that. If you're interested in being on, of course, you'd have to be on the show, but it's only audio, and sharing what it's been like for you, and you feel better doing it with a few people versus just yourself, then reach out to us on Facebook, or you can email us. We have Kevin's Gmail address. I did get it wrong on a couple of episodes.
Oops.
Because you haven't put it on, so I put it on wrong, and I was like, uh-oh. Anyway, email us, Kevin, and we'll reach out to you and be on our panel. Tell people what it's like, because that's how we grow. That's how we build awareness and community. I mean, community is always valuable. Our friend Liam Atchison, who has History Bros, his latest History Bros is all about community and how the only way we survive is through community. So it's so important and so valuable, and it changed your life. It changed my life, and it might be for a season, it might be for a long time, we don't know, but and currently there are communities that you can go get involved with, and I know Celebrate Recovery has they have the AA, the NA, they also have weight loss, and they have recovering from sexual abuse. And then also get with a counselor that has a group. That's a good way to go too. And if you're like Kevin and you're on the fence and you think if you go get help, it's going to destroy everyone else's life, maybe don't make that decision for everybody else. Make it for yourself, and know that it's never going to be as bad as it was the first time. And we always have room to grow. I'm growing all the time. I'm always in masterminds. I'm always learning, trying to be better.
We're learning. We're constantly learning and growing. And I think, that has made such a difference in our perspective on ourselves, and also our perspective on each other. It matters so much to know that we're all doing this together. So,
And, I think for women, it's easier because that's how we've always been. Let's do our laundry together. Where men, I think it's a little harder. So, just shake it off and find a community. Be brave.
We can do this together.
Well, this is a good time to say, hey, if you're not into prayer, you can hit next. Otherwise, stick around with us and pray.
So that's it for today.
We are going to have a prayer time if you want to stick with us. If not, we believe in you.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories.
If you like this podcast, please rate and review, because that's how other people can find us. And we really want to spread this message.
Father, I thank you for all your blessings and the blessings of each other, that you made us to be in community. You made us to be with each other. And Lord, I just pray that we would find each other. We would find the ones that would help us get through this together, and also the ones that we can help, the ones that need someone to help them along and to come alongside them and show them that they can do this. They can get through this, that there is hope, that there is healing. And Lord, I just pray that for anyone listening, that they would be encouraged to share their story so that they can find others and they can find the healing that they deserve, Lord. And I just pray for your presence in their lives and your encouragement in their lives, and your grace and peace in their life, that they would feel ready to share, and also they would have the courage to share, and that they would find the right people to share with and get the healing they deserve, Lord. I just pray that we can be a part of that we can help them to find the people they need to share with, and if they share with us, that we would be there for them. In your name I pray.
And Father, I hear all the time in my women's networking groups, we get together for business, we help each other, that I hear them always say, find your tribe. And so I ask that you help us to find our tribe and be willing to speak our story, to ask for help, and to be open to being with people that have gone through what we've gone through and that can support us and that we can support them. Lord, I just pray that you open doors and open opportunities and make the way clear and give us the courage, because we're going to be scared. It does take courage. It takes just being able to step out and to offer our hand, or be able to just find somebody that we can safely tell our story for. But when you prompt our heart for that, Lord, then you provide the opportunity. And I'm so grateful for that. I thank you for all the opportunities that are going to open up this week, and that we might not let them pass, but we'll take good advantage of them. And Father, I thank you so much that you do love us, that you do want us to be healed and whole, and that there is an amazing life on the other side of this and in the midst of walking through it. In your Son's holy name, amen.
Amen.